Greetings and welcome to Hex Encountered. I'm Joe, and in this video we're going to be doing the playthrough portion of the very first installment of Hex Encounters, which looks at games that maybe aren't forefront in people's thoughts and so on. Now, the game we're going to be playing, and this is really just more of a setup video because I actually have not completed the setup. You'll notice a gap there on the left side. Is Death of an Army, Ypres 1914. This is from Revolution Games and designed by Kerry Anderson. And I'm going to play the Falbeck's attack scenario, which is one of the three things you can play in this particular game. So this is the setup card for it right here. And you can see this one actually starts on October 29th and continues until the end of November 4th, sorry. So that is a relatively short one. The full game, if you play the entire thing, could run from October 20th through November 12th. And the setup for that is on the back here for the campaign and the Longa Mark, which is basically the first couple days of the battle here on the back. And you can see you've got two German armies, the 6th Army and the 4th Army. Then you've got the British Expeditionary Force and the French 8th Army. Now here you can see the setup. There are dotted lines on the map, and you can kind of see them. Perhaps they're right here, these red dots. The red dots indicate the British sector. There are blue dots along here you can kind of see. That's the French line. And the green units, the darker green that you can see a lot of. Actually, you can't see any of the other color, but the darker green, that is the German 4th Army. And then over to the left, because the map is a lot bigger than what we're seeing here, we have the German 4th Army. And then what I have not set up yet is Falbeck's group here at the bottom. Okay, so you can see this, since this takes place during the battle. Up here you can see that we've got units. This is the German 6th Army that have step losses. We have some units from the German 4th Army with step losses. The French have some step losses, and the British also have step losses, right? So we're starting mid-battle, but the Falbeck's group, the 16th Bavarian Regiment is actually, the 16th Bavarian Regiment is actually attached to the 6th Army. That's this unit right here. It's one regiment. You can see 16th BR here, part of the, this is actually part of the 16th Bavarian Division. And I had that off to the side. So I just wanted to do kind of a brief setup video here to talk about the setup and then get into gameplay. So I was just going to kind of show my thinking and talk about the board and the layout and things here for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then I'll continue with another playthrough. And this will be in several parts because I want to give this game a really good treatment. Having read the rules are not overly complex, but they make a lot of sense. It's got a couple of interesting mechanics that we'll talk about as I do the playthrough. This unit here, these two are reduced. So the British have slightly larger units, and you can see the counter here with a 636. The 3 is the number of stacking points, and in this game you can have 4. This is the first game in a series, which is Great War Battles. This is Great War Battles Volume 1, and I'm hoping that this does well enough that there are future releases in this series, and I believe, based on reading the rule book and everything, that there are certainly some planned. But that the designer's plans are only part of the equation. You also have to have publishers and customers willing to buy, shall we say? So here's Falbeck's group again, right? So you can see we've got the 6th Bavarian Division. That might be Bavarian Reserve Division, perhaps. 26th Division, the 13th Corps Artillery. You have off-board artillery. They look like this. Right, that is the 13th Corps artillery. It's off-board, and there's an off-board artillery track for both sides, and actually for each of the three. Well, the Allies are together, but they're separated. The French and the British are separated slightly. They have different color counters, as you saw. Basically, once you fire the unit, it's considered to be, of course, used, and then you would just flip it over to its fired side, as you can see. Okay, so back to this. We have the 30th Division, the 39th Division, the 15th Corps Artillery, which is also off-board, 3rd and 4th Bavarian Divisions, and then two more artillery, off-board artillery. So for example, looking at the 1st Division that is mentioned there is the 26th. That is right here. One thing that helps differentiate the different divisions is this color band up here, so the purple for the 26th. Now the 28th, I believe, has to do with when the unit shows up. This unit would show up on October 28th. It is now October 29th. So it's already here, of course. Now, if we look, this is the entire division, so it's got 8 units in it, right? So it's all infantry and some artillery. So we've got infantry, and you have your regimental names over here, right? You can see all of the various units that are in here. There are four infantry, and then the rest are artillery. These are artillery. So you have onboard and offboard artillery, and the artillery can be deployed, which is this side, or limbered, which is this side. And as we saw, the infantry units have a full-strength side and a reduced side. So putting these out on the map, right? So we have to put them within 4 hexes of this red line. Now, since the Germans are the aggressor in this, I am trying to line them up as close along these red lines as possible. Now, I have the units of the 6th Army are actually right here. Basically 1 hex off the shot, and I may slide the camera over a little bit to the left. In fact, let's do that. Okay, so the reason I actually had the camera as far over as I did is the city of Passchendaele, or the town of Passchendaele, is right below. Well, it's off to the right a little bit now, but there's this raised area here. This is the Passchendaele Ridge. And the right side of it is now off camera. So let me fix that. There we go. So here's the town, okay? And this is why I had the shot a little further over that way, but this is actually pretty good. So we have a British unit here, right? They're behind their red line. And I put the British, generally speaking, up close to the line. I also did the same with the French, thinking that since they're already engaged, and we'll talk about mechanics later, but they're already engaged, so I didn't want to have everybody backed off. You could be four hexes off this line on for both sides. So in theory, you could have 8 hexes between the 2 armies. Now, this was, as I said, the midst of the battle, so you get a little bit of flexibility in terms of how you want to set up. But my opinion was the British are going to try, as they did historically, they're going to really try to hold on to this ridge because it's high ground. The rest of the battlefield is fairly flat. There's some elevated areas in the back up here. As you get closer to the French border, this is Belgium. And we have the Passchendaele Ridge that runs from here all the way down to the town itself, and then 1 hex beyond it. This is the last hex of the ridge. If the Germans capture this ridge, they win this scenario. Their victory conditions, as you can see, German player must capture Passchendaele Ridge, the band of high ground stretching from hex 0908 to 1914 for victory. Anything short of this is an Allied victory. So 0908 is right here, where I have my finger, and 1914 is right here. So this area is what they need to capture. If they can push the British and a little bit of the French here off on the right back, then they win the scenario, right? So There's also a line between the two German armies, and it's right here. So this line is the demarcation between the 6th Army, or 4th Army rather, on this side, and the 6th Army on this side, of which Falbeck's group was a part. So what I've now, there are stacking limits. As you can see, our German infantry has a stacking value of 2. Stacking limit for this game is 4. So you could put 2 infantry units together, but I've been trying to kind of space them out a little bit, because you can't literally line them all up and fill every hole. But you could do something along these lines where maybe you put your 2 5 strength, which are stronger, right? And then we can stick 4s in between, like so. And then we have 4 artillery units. They can be back off the line, and I put them out as deployed so they can fire. Now, if they are limbered, some of them can actually fire over open sights from a limbered state. So this is literally, it can fire pretty much point blank at the enemy. So what I've been doing is I make kind of a 2, because well, I guess I could put them over here. Let's do this. So I back up everyone with 1. You can support the fire of the attacks, and we'll get into the mechanics again, as I said, in a little bit. So that's the 26th Infantry. Now, I could also, because we're going to have a nice concentration of forces here. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to stack these guys up and make, because we're going on a big offensive here. So we're going to stack these guys up. And let's do it like this. We're going to put infantry or artillery right behind them. So we've got an entire division right here in these 2 hexes, backed up by their artillery. Then we also have the 30th Division, which is, where is it? Right here, right? So that's the 30th Division. We can do the same kind of thing. We can go 1, 2, and then do this. And then put 2 artillery here and 2 here. Next, we have the 39th Division, which is here. And these are the divisions I'm going to put on the line to try and get into or push on Passchendaele here. And I'm going to put 2 5s on this side of the canal. This is the Yser Canal right here. And we'll put the 2 4s on the other side. And then we'll put 2 artillery there and 2 artillery here. Now, the other units that are involved here, we've got 2 more divisions. We've got 2 Bavarian divisions here that we can lay out, the 3rd and the 4th. So here's the 4th. And this is also part of the 4th. They're very big. They have a lot of artillery. Here's the 3rd and the 3rd. And then that's, oh, and I got the 6th BR as well. So we have all of these units here to lay out as well, to fill in what is a very small piece of the line up here, but also to provide what I'm going to look at as a reserve force. So we're hoping that these guys can shove up, inflict some damage on the British, maybe force them to back up. There are also, of course, terrain effects, right? So here, if we look at our TEC, you can see high ground, right? 1 retreat point. So we'll talk about retreat points and so on when we get in here, right? Defensive fire effect, barrage effect. And the combat resolution in this game is pretty interesting. And I think it does a good job of maybe illustrating the way World War I combat worked. I mean, I'm also one who would say, you know, oh, who wants to play World War I games? It's boring. It's very static. It was trenches. It was guys going over the top and getting mowed down by machine guns and all this stuff until the tanks came along at the end and helped them make some breakthroughs and the Americans showed up and all that stuff, right? And that's somewhat true, of course. There was a lot of static stuff. This is early in the war, a couple months in, 2-3 months in, about 3 months in, I guess. And so things were still somewhat mobile for, you know, a time when mechanization was really low. So you do have an ability to kind of push and do some things. But the way artillery was very important. So artillery plays a big role in this game, and it's very well represented. I mean, as you've seen, we've got artillery behind the lines to support directly. And then we also have our off-board artillery, which can also do things. And what they don't do is inflict step losses. They impact the defender's ability to make an effective defense. It's kind of a force multiplier would be a good way to put it, I guess. So anyway, I'm going to put some of the third, I'm going to put the 6th BR up on the front line, and I'm going to keep the 4th and the 3rd Bavarians as my backup. So they'll end up back in this area here along the ridge line down to our demarcation line between the armies, which is right here. So they're going to be probably in this area right here behind not all the way over into the 4th Army area, but eventually they can shove in this way if I push 4th Army this way, right? We want to knock the British off the ridge. So we'll also have to put some pressure on the French, and the French line extends up that way. You'll see the whole map when I do the gameplay. Like I said, I've rambled on a lot. This is longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to give you an idea of the setup. So rather than do the rest of the setup and show you that, because we're already over 15, I want to stop here. I wanted to give you an idea of the overall strategy, get a look at the components a little bit better than we saw in the first look, where it was very general. Now you have a better idea of what they all are. For a final thing, we'll talk about the counters. So you can see the arrival date, divisional color, right? So you can see all the divisions have their own color. We have yellow for the 7th British here. 1st Division is blue. 2nd Division is black, etc. The Germans, we've got white over here for the 30th. 39th is this brown color. Purple here for the 26th. And then on the other side, in the 4th Army, you got this lime green for the 54th Reserve, and so on, right? So you get that idea. But then the important ones to me are down here. The combat strength, the stacking points, and the movement allowance. And you can see the British unit here, even though it is a division, it's still not a division, I'm sorry, it's a brigade. So it's bigger than the enemy regiments. And then this is the backside of it when it gets reduced. There are unit colors, and then over here we have artillery. Front side is the deployed side with its date, division color, the range. Okay, so if you look at this guy right here, this is an artillery unit. His range is 5. Now I have him right here, so he can fire out 1, 2, 3, 4. He can actually hit this unit all the way up here. You've also got the combat strength, its stacking units, and its movement. So it can't move, but if we flip it to its limbered side, you can see it can move 8. Right? Okay, and then you have the backside explanation, and there's the limbered side. So on the limbered side, you have no combat strength. You still cost 1 in stacking points. For this one, this would be one that could not fire over open sights. This one can, but it's got a strength of 1. So it's not as effective, but that 1 could be a good thing to have for your fire combat because it's odds based. So you want to have your odds based here for your melee, as you can see. So that's going to do it. Look for the actual gameplay in a day or two. It's going to be quick. But I did want to do an introduction, so I saved time on the playthrough. Appreciate you taking a look. Hopefully you'll come back and check out the gameplay video, but for now I'm going to hang it up. I'm Joe. This is the Hex Encounters channel, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.